cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. It's black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 It's black and white. Oh. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. It's black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 It's black and white. It's black and white.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Simulation Racing Leagues TCR series, and it feels like a very long time ago that we had round 8 at Laguna Seca. Obviously we've had that winter break period, so the drivers are fully ready and refreshed to get back out on the track this evening. Like I said, we are here at Zolder for round 9, the final 2 rounds on their way. Round 10 in 2 weeks time at Nürburgring, round 9 tonight at Zolder, and this is the final time drivers can score crucial points for the championship, albeit the champion has already been crowned, Dan Mould, who has had a team change in the winter break. He's gone from the SRL team over to the Ignium Motorsport team, so keep an eye out for him tonight, as always, to see whether this new team makes him go even quicker. But even though we've crowned our champion a few rounds ago, we do still have positions up for grabs. And while we're on the topic of the championship, we can have a look through the championship points. And there you go, you can see Dan Mould right the way up at the top of the order. 142 points, the Ignium Motorsport driver. Very well driven throughout the entire season. And even with the 2 drop rounds, this is including the 2 drop rounds, the points you're looking at have got the 2 lowest scoring rounds reduced from their overall points, and Dan Mould, even with that, is even further ahead of Callum Reed-Garton. Callum sadly missing out on probably over half the season now, sat there on 86 points in second. Scott Tuffy, after a rotten couple of rounds, he is back on form. At Laguna Seca last time out, he finished in 4th, so got a good haul of points. He's now only 5 points behind Callum Reed-Garton, so as long as Scott can finish in the points over the next couple of rounds, he should be able to nab second in the championship. Then it's Niels Manchanden in 4th, Neil Stevenson in 5th, Ashley Gaffale 6th, Rob Sutherland 7th, Scott Malcolm 8th, Ben Hicks in 9th, and Andrew Lovesey rounds out the top 10 in the championship. And I'll just let them scroll through onto the next ones, so you can see there's definitely positions up for grabs. It's so close up and down the order. A fair few drivers separated by only 1 or 2 points, and you can see Anthony Meyer, Kalle Kavisto and Al Brown, P21, 22 and 23. 3 Simulation Racing Leagues drivers separated by only 3 points. Anthony James Meyer and Kalle Kavisto sharing 18 points as well, so keep an eye out for those 2 this evening. This is the final time they will be able to decide who will get honours between the teammates. And you can see even right down towards the tail end of the order, you've got 3 drivers on 1 point. Fraser Garrity, Harry Bowen and Jermaine Warren. And then you've also got Chris Allen, Dean Hammond, Radoslav Zaharev and Victor Oliveira all on 0 points. So if they can get a couple of points tonight, it can boost them up 2, 3, probably even 5 positions if anybody else has a bit of a shocker tonight. But we do have the cars out on track by the looks of it, out for the qualifying session. 10-minute qualifying as always. We'll try and get some cameras out on circuit. So we are currently looking at Derek Crowther, the privateer entry. This is only his outlap, so I don't expect... Oh no, he's already done his outlap. He's been very quick on the mark here, and he's straight out onto the circuit, getting the times posted in. A really nice livery on that car. I love the spec map. You can see the matte and the chrome really bouncing off each other, working well together. And I think that's Al Brown up at the top of the order. I'm going to have to give the timing a quick refresh because it looks like it's just compressed all the positions into one at the top of the screen. So we'll give that a quick reload. You'll see it blink off screen, back on screen. There we go. We do have the timing tower on its way. There's Niels Manchanden, current provisional pole sitter, 1 minute 40.780. Ignium Motorsport really looking good tonight if they've got Dan Mould in Ignium colours as well. Keep an eye out for that team. There is Neil Stevenson for SimTech Racing, a 141.015. 2-ish tenths off provisional pole. He will be looking to improve upon his current fastest lap. There is Derek Crowther, looking at him a few moments ago. He's put that into provisional P3. Matt Tempest in 4th at the moment. Another one of the SimTech drivers. Then we get to Al Brown and Kalle Kavisto, funnily enough, fighting for places in the championship overall. So with them being P5 and P6, albeit provisionally in qualifying, it could be a good little race on the way between the 2 teammates. There is Kalle Kavisto appearing from behind the trees, charging towards the hairpin at this Zolder circuit. There's Pete Bryan. With it being a solo qualifying session, you don't have any draft assistance. It also means you don't have any traffic, so it can work with and against you. For the most part, I think in these cars, having no other cars on circuit can make it even easier for you. Dan Mould to the top end of the times by over 1 second. 1 minute 39.740 puts him on provisional pole position. Niels Manchanden, Ignium Motorsport teammate, 1 second back. That is a huge gap at the front of the order. And Scott Tuffy's gone even quicker. He's gone 400ths quicker, a 1:39.696. Very quick lap from Scott Tuffy. I told you to keep an eye on him, and he is definitely proving me right here this evening. Still falling in love with that livery. Beautiful gold spec map with the matte black flashes. Great stuff from Scott. And of course, he's now fighting for second in the championship. 4th last time out, so he's always been a pretty solid driver from the back to the front. of the grid fairly often, and tonight he might go from the front and just stay there. Provisional pole position for the moment. We've got lots of time slowly starting to roll in. Jason Guara for Simtech Racing, one of the most recent cars to cross the line, at 313, pardon me, as he bounces over the chicane, clearly deciding to abandon this lap. Not quite happy with that one. We'll have a look through, see who else is posting times. Ashley Gafale up to provisional P3, another Ignium car. So at the moment, Ignium Motorsport P2, P3. Then Niels Manchanden has been demoted down into 7th place just in the space of a couple of minutes. Shows how close this field is in towards the mid-pack. We'll have a look a little further down to see who else is slowly starting to post times. Scott Malcolm for Team Mad, he is on a flying lap as well, setting personal bests in all his most recent sectors. If you are in the chat and you would like the live timing link, I think if you scroll up it should be there. If not, I will post the live timing link in the chat now, just so you can see everything I see and a little bit more. So for the moment, everybody is slowly starting to trickle in for the final couple of laps that they'll get during this session. And it's very easy to put in some very quick laps and struggle to better them. However, Andy Lovesey, Carl Lukeman have improved upon their time. So has Pete Bryan, Matt Tempest and Al Brown. Scotty Angelo's improved as well. Scott Malcolm massively improved up into P7. Goes the Team Mad driver with a 1 minute 40.371. Ashley Gafale charging towards the final chicane now. Just a couple more corners to go, and then he will hopefully improve upon his qualifying time. That's definitely not the way to go about it, though. Washing wide, going very deep in towards the final corner. That might have cost him a couple of tenths of a second, which could just be enough to prevent him from being promoted up through the order. Crosses the line now. What does he do? He does a 1:40.219, so just missing out on an improvement there. Dan Mould, however, he's already gone very quickly, and he's just set the fastest overall sector 2. You can see the little black bar filling up towards sector 4, sets a personal best sector 4, in towards the final chicane he goes, weaves it in between the curbs, avoiding the major sausage curbs on either side. Now foot planted to the floor, charging towards the line. What can he do? Can he improve upon his 1 minute 39.696? Don't think he can. And he cannot improve upon provisional pole time. He doesn't actually set a time through, so I think that lap time might have been invalidated. Here is Pete Bryan coming towards the line. We've got Matt Tempest a little bit closer, however, for Simtech Racing. Through the final corner he goes. Towards the timing beam, can he improve upon his time for Simtech Racing? His current fastest a 1:40.567. Crosses the line. Does he improve? No, he doesn't. Who else do we have on the way? Jason Guara has just finished a lap. He sets his personal fastest lap, a 1:43.542. John Brown heading through the final couple of sectors now. Around the hairpin, and then the long run towards the final chicane. Down the straight he goes. And this is where you'll really see, during the race, a fair few overtakes. Very heavy braking zone. You've got a bit of draft to play with down that straight. So we may see a couple of late lunges there just to get these early overtakes made. Towards the timing line he goes, a 1:41.040 to beat. Looking at the sector times, it might be very marginal if it is an improvement, and it is not. He does stay in 14th place overall. Rob Sutherland, however, does jump up to 15th place with a 1:41.187. Good little lap from him there. And I don't think we've got any other cars out and circulating for fast times. A couple of seconds left in this session. Round the hairpin he goes once again, towards the back straight as we tick over the 10-minute mark. Qualifying finishes immediately, and now we should have the grid available to us. We'll start to see drivers forming up on the grid, so let's get the grid up on screen. There you go. So Scott Tuffy for round 9 takes pole position at 1:39.696, only 400ths quicker than Ignium Motorsport driver Dan Mould, who joins him on the front row of the grid. And it's Andy Lovesey in 3rd with Carl Lukeman alongside. Row 3 is Ashley Gafale and Kalle Kavisto. Scott Malcolm in 7th. Scotty Angelo starts in 8th. Niels Manchanden and Pete Bryan make up your top 10. Then it's Matt Tempest in 11th. Al Brown in 12th. And I think we have got a minimised grid this evening. We do indeed. So there is Neil Stevenson in 13th, John Brown in 14th, Rob Sutherland in 15th, Derek Crowther 16th, Dennis Rust in 17th, Jason Guara in 18th, and then it's Bram Class 19th, and Anthony Gaskin makes up your grid. And I think we will be going green in just a few moments' time. You can see the lights up at the top of the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 lights here at Zolder for round 9 of the SRL TCR series, and it's away. Great start from Scott Tuffy from the front row of the grid. He does have Dan Mould alongside though, whether that was a slight misgear from Scott Tuffy. Got a great initial launch off the line, and then he's really started to bog down. Now under pressure from Andy Lovesey round the outside. Andy Lovesey goes, and he's now under pressure as well from Carl Leekman. Not sure what happened to Scott Tuffy there, but look who has come out on top. Dan Mould really starting to prosper from that. He's already built up just about a car length, which is what you need to stay in front in these Audi TCRs. We get a great view of the back of the tents here at Zolder. Scott Tuffy under pressure there from Carl Leekman, as we saw going through turn 1. So it's all gone wrong for Scott. He's got lots of work to do if he wishes to get back up to the front of the pack. There is Carl Leekman, Ashley Gaffale following along with Scotty Angelo, Scott Malcolm, Calais Cavisto, Pete Bryan in towards the really heavy braking zone here at the first chicane. Everybody gets it slowed down. I think there might have been a bit of contact there between Rob Sutherland, and was that Rob Sutherland in the wall? I think it was. Derek Crowther's off the road. There is Rob Sutherland, and he is well and truly off the road. He might have had a bit of help there. Anthony Gaskin, I don't think he managed to make it to the grid, but we'll have another look back at that incident a little later on in the race. We do still have battles going on. This is Ashley Gaffale trying to fend off the attentions of, he's trying to get past Carl Leekman while trying to fend off the attentions of Scotty Angelo. Has a little look up the inside, there's Ashley Gaffale, and then goes into the tail end of Carl Leekman. They bounce off each other and then into Scott Malcolm as well. 3 cars hard in the wall, a big train of cars all together, and there's lots of damage on lots of cars there. Everybody jumping up on the brakes. I think if safety cars were enabled, we would get a few here. This is not what we like to see. Lots of cars everywhere in the middle of the road. It's an absolute car park there on the back straight. Almost another incident there as well, and that's lots of damage. However, back up at the front, Dan Mould does have his ex-teammate Andrew Lovesey chasing him down through sector 1. Scott Tuffy's dropped back a little bit as well. However, he doesn't have much pressure from behind anymore. There is Scotty Angelo, a very minimalistic Simtech Racing livery, charging his way through sector 1. 2 seconds back is Niels Manchandan appearing from behind the tent. So it's Ignia Motorsport in 5th, Ignia Motorsport in 6th with Ashley Gaffale, and Ignia Motorsport in 7th with Rob Sutherland. Almost looks like a fiercely forward livery, that car. And we've got Dennis Rust in 8th for Simtech Racing, another trio of teammates. Jason Guara, Neil Stevenson throws it up the inside of Jason Guara. So Simtech boys swapping positions there. Then it's Calais Cavisto for Simulation Racing Leagues. I think that car might have got a bit of damage on the right hand side. We'll see whether that slowly starts to affect the performance. There's Carl Leekman leaving the pit lane, and it's a very busy pit exit as well, because there's John Brown, Al Brown leaving the pit lane now. Derek Crowther still stationary in the pit lane alongside Scott Malcolm, Pete Bryan and Matt Tempest. Bram Class I think might have retired from the session as well, so sadly we won't see any further action from himself. Back up to the front though, you can see Dan Mould on his way to a very good result already. It seems like if Dan Mould can get out in front, get in the clean air, and then as long as he doesn't have too much pressure from behind, he can carry it to the end of the race. However, with him battling Andy Lovesey, Scott Tuffy's coming in to play as well. He will just be picking up the slight wisps of draft assistance from Andy Lovesey ahead, so don't rule Scott out of a podium battle just as yet. In fact, he does set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:39.844. That would have been very competitive in qualifying, let alone the first couple of laps of the race. Up at the front though, he's getting even closer. Andy Lovesey pretty much pushing the number 80 of Dan Mould through the first couple of corners. He has a big look up the inside, gets the move done in towards turn 4. However, he might have compromised his exit going onto the straight. Dan Mould is tucked underneath the rear wing, poised and ready to get that position back. Doesn't really do too much about it. I think he might be more than happy just sitting on for the moment. Of course, these drivers have got to contend with strategy as well. They will need fuel to get to the end. Tyres might slowly start to fall away towards the end of the race, going off the rest or the earlier part of the season, a general rule of thumb is don't change tyres. It just costs too much time. If you lose, 15 seconds in the pit stop, there's no way you're going to make that back even on the fresh rubber. Now you can see Scott Tuffy pushing Dan Mould around. So Dan slowly starting to fall back and Scott working his way back up through the order, making amends for that poor start. But back to strategy, yeah, these drivers do need fuel. There's no way they'll be able to get to the end on the fuel they start with, so they've got to make sure they pit in at the right point, just as the car's getting light enough to start to get competitive. You've got to run into the pit lane, get a quick splash and dash, and hopefully that can carry you to the end of the race. Before the moment, we do have a new car up at the front. It's the number 1 machine up in P1, Andy Lovesey. How long this will last, I don't know, because Dan Mould is pretty much a quarter of a second back from the leader. Then Scott Tuffy follows a similar margin behind himself. So there's lots of battling going on here. A little further down the order, we've got Dennis Rust and Neil Stevenson battling away, the two Simtech racing cars. You can see Kalle Kavisto in the background. Who was that in the background, actually? It was one of the Simtech cars, but I can't quite figure out who it was. I'm guessing it could have been Matt Tempest. It was Matt Tempest throwing himself over the curbs in desperation to try and catch up to his teammates. Craig Walters in chat saying, sorry guys, he didn't make it. Yeah, of course, we don't have Craig Walters out on the track this evening. That is a shame, Craig. You've been very competitive throughout the season, so it would have been nice to see you. We're going to have a quick look back at the start. I want to see what happened to Scott Tuffy, because he got that rotten start, and I'm not 100% sure why. So we were right on board. Gets away cleanly. He just gets a couple. Oh, the car box down. He changes up early, in fact. I did think he might have missed a gear. Whether that was actually strategy, just so he's not out in front at the start, I don't know. But very odd from Scott. Might have just misclicked and gone up another gear, and it jumped him into 4th instead of 3rd. We'll have a look back at the first couple of incidents as well. We had Rob Sutherland go off the road. Does get a bit of help from the Simtech car, and then the cars just come together and round he goes into the wall. Rob Sutherland, the number 58 machine, in the gravel, and then cuts across the track trying to get back going again. And then this is where it all went wrong. We had, was it this one? There is Neil Stevenson. I'm just trying to find it on the replay. Could have been here. This was actually into the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. Carl Lukeman, I think he might have cut the chicane out, braked himself over the gravel he goes, rattling from one part of the track to the other. Does get back going again, loses a position to the Ignium Motorsport machine just about. That was very close between himself and Ashley Gaffale, and then I think this is where we slowly start to see the incidents come together. It's Carl Lukeman gets tagged by Ashley Gaffale, then gets slingshotted across the track in towards Scott Malcolm. Then everybody comes together unsighted out of the chicane. As soon as there's a train of cars all going towards an incident, it's pretty much a one-way affair, and you're going to go into another car, and you can see everybody bouncing off each other in desperation, trying to get out the way. And I think a lot of these guys, you can see there, Al Brown grabs reverse, throws it in towards one barrier just to try and get out the way, and then does finally get back going again with a few of his SRL teammates in tow. But lots of damage at the start of the race. Back up to the front now, back with live pictures. You can see Andy Lovesey, he is still in the lead. He's built up a slight lead margin. Dan Mould running wide there. Thought the car might have washed out, but he did manage to get that moment under control. A big lunge, a very late look, almost pushing Andy Lovesey through the hairpin. And I think they're starting to work together a little bit. I'm guessing they'll probably be in the same voice chat, so they will be talking to each other, trying to communicate their strategy, and it's definitely working. Pulling away from Scott Tuffy now. The gap between Scott Tuffy and Dan Mould, 7/10 of a second. It is slowly starting to fall away again. In the background, though, we've got John Brown slowly starting to put the pressure on Al Brown for Simulation Racing Leagues, with the reworked livery, of course. Very nice livery at the start of the season, wearing predominantly white, now in a predominantly grey and black livery. A little look up the inside there from John Brown, making his intentions known. A lovely little pop from the exhaust on the overrun there, in towards the braking zone. It looks like John Brown is wanting to get past Al Brown as quickly as possible into the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. John appears to be slightly more competitive on the brakes. However, as soon as we get to the exit, Al Brown can get the power down, possibly a bit smoother, gets the car gripped up, and slowly starts to disappear. However, back up at the front now, it's still Andy Lovesey, but with that mounting pressure from Dan Mould. How long will he stay there? There was a bit of contact in the background there. I'm not sure who has come to strife with that one. We've had an incident apparently for Al Brown, which might explain why he's back here. Oh, this is just the incident from earlier where everybody decided to make a car park of the back straight, everybody weaving their way back through. But back up to live pictures though, it's still Al Brown in the lead. Scott Tuffy back in on the mix, and I don't think he's going to take any prisoners here. A very, very late lunge does get Dan Mould. Does he get it slowed down in time? He does. So up into second place is Scott Tuffy, gets the car gripped up for the exit, and another position gained. But while that has helped him gain a position, look what's happened to the gap to Andy Lovesley. Now Scott Tuffy is going to be preoccupied with Dan Mould in his rearview mirror, so this could really start to play into the hands of Andy Lovesley. He'll be hot on his rearview mirror, really starting to enjoy what he's seeing, because he will see Dan Mould and Scott Tuffy battling away behind, meaning that they'll slow each other down. You can see Scott on a very absolute edge of adhesion there, trying to catch back up to the leader. Back to Al Brown, however, he's slowly starting to catch up on his teammate Carl Lukeman, but still with the attentions of John Brown in the number 26 privateer entry. It's through the Gilles Villeneuve chicane once again, and there's just enough of a gap between these three cars, so you know there's not really going to be a position change unless it's a very, very late lunge. And I think at that point you're almost wishing for an accident if you go from this far back. However, if they slowly start to work together and they play their cards right, they could work their way back up into the pecking order and catch back up onto the tail end of the Simtech cars in front. Jason Guara crossing the line. There is Dennis Rust in 10th. And for the moment, there's no major action apart from up at the front. And Dan Mould has really started to drop back off the lead battle. Scott Tuffy, here's where he got the position on the last lap. Andy Lovesley wise to that move. Later on the brakes, does it compromise his exit? It looks like he's got Scott covered off on towards the back straight. And for the moment, it's looking like it's Scott Tuffy for the lead. He's really starting to put that pressure on. Doesn't get the best run out of the final corner. Dan Mould now back in the grasp. But it's still Scott Tuffy chasing on. What we can do is we'll ride on board with Scott Tuffy, so you can see his view up towards Andy Lovesley. Actually, let's ride on board with the Ignia Motorsport machine of Dan Mould. Of course, season 1 champion, so he's definitely got the pace. Whether he's just playing with the two guys in front or he's really got a challenge on his hand here, you can see he's got the best seats in the house. If he wants to let the two in front fight, he can do that. He's just got to make sure he doesn't fall out of touch with them. He's really pushing the limits, using all the track available, making sure there's no time left out there. In towards the first chicane, hard on the brakes, getting it tucked in either side of the big sausage curbs. You can get away with a bit of curve through there, nothing major, however, with these Audi RS3 TCRs. On iRacing, they do have the updated damage model, which means a lot of the bodywork is interactive, so you can lose bumpers and wheels and wings and everything in between. You can hear the car bottoming out on some of the sausage curbs there. Dan Mould running wide a little bit, but that does open his exit up very nicely. He does carry the momentum through. A bit of a late apex, I think, as the car goes over the crest, almost like a bit of a clutch kick there, pushing Scott Tuffy through the corner. Very British touring car-esque racing here. Dennis Rust has had a bit of a moment. We'll have another look back at that in a few moments' time. But for the moment, he's slowly starting to calm down here. Gap, an equal gap, bringing up between the pair, or between the trio at the front. Scotty Angelo there in the Simtech racing machine. He's on his way to the lead trio as well, bringing along with him Neilsman Shandon, another Ignia Motorsport machine. So Dan Mould could have a bit of assistance here in a few laps' time. Dennis Rust had that incident. Let's have a quick look back. He went off the road once and then off the road again, possibly through the chicane, touches the grass while on the brakes, turning in. Does he get it slowed down? He holds the brakes until everybody gets out of the way and then jumps off the curb, and with the turning circle of the moon, he does finally get it turned around again and back on to the racetrack. So the chicane already catching people out here. Andy Lovesley under pressure now from Scott Tuffy. You saw the brake lights flash on there from Scott. I think wasn't quite expecting Andy to defend that position as hard as he did. However, it has bought him a little bit of time, and it's also put Scott Tuffy under pressure again. So Andy really starting to play his cards right, doing everything he needs to do, just making sure he's quick in the parts of the circuit he has to be, and that has also brought another car back in on the mix as well. Scotty Angelo really starting to catch on to the coattails of Dan Mould now, still bringing Niels Manchanden with him. That gap Andy Lovesey built just a few corners before really starting to dissipate now. Scott Tuffy pitching the car in towards the hairpin. You can see the car almost over-rotating in. He's that precise on the brakes. Dan Mould underneath the rear wing of Scott Tuffy has a little look, filling his mirrors, almost gives him another nudge. You can see damage slowly starting to build up on the front end of Dan Mould's car. Andy Lovesey running very wide out the final chicane. That will ruin his momentum all the way down the straight. He will have the inside line in towards turn one. Dan Mould bump drafting Scott Tuffy in towards turn one. It might have given him that extra bit of momentum that he needs. Sideways around the outside of Andy Lovesey. Dan Mould pushes Scott Tuffy round Andy Lovesey, goes through and takes the lead. So Dan Mould back in the lead, Scott Tuffy in second. And within the space of two corners, Andy Lovesey has dropped 2 positions under pressure from losing another, because there is Scott Tuffy now, or Scotty Angelo, pardon me, really in on the mix. So it's 4 cars for the lead, almost 5 cars if Niels Manchanden can get up towards the front. I want to have another look back at that move, specifically from Dan Mould's onboard. So if we just go here, you can see Andy Lovesey on the left-hand side, Scott Tuffy in front, pushing Scott in towards turn one, pretty much a bump and run, possibly giving him that extra bit of momentum. Sideways through turn one, sees the gap, goes for the gap, and there you go, 2 positions made in the space of 1 corner, and very important positions at that, because that has now put Dan Mould up into the lead. So great stuff from Dan, very clever driving, and he's beginning to break away. Half a second the gap between himself and Stuffy, and then another half a second back is Andy Lovesey, already shaking off the attentions, however, of Scotty Angelo, who I think has had an incident because he's lost out to Niels Manchanden. Let's have a quick look back to see what happened to Scotty Angelo. In towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, gives Dan Mould a bit of a nudge. Dan goes jumping over the chicane, and Scotty Angelo, I think he might have just got caught out on the grass. We'll have another quick look back at that, just to see what happened. He doesn't seem to want to play ball. We'll try it again. So we'll see what happened. On the grass he goes, then touches the curb. The car's already pitched in towards the corner. Nothing much you can do there. The slightest of touches over-rotates Dan Mould's car in towards the chicane. Over the gravel he goes. Scotty Angelo follows suit, loses out to Niels Manchanden. So that does now mean that Niels Manchanden is up into 4th place, giving chase to Andy Lovesey. There is Scott Tuffy, 3/10 back from Dan Mould now. So the battle for the lead only getting closer and closer as the night wears on. There is Carl Lukeman still in this trio of cars. He's in the middle. Al Brown, his SRL teammate, leading the way, and it's still John Brown following along. So whether these guys are in the same voice chat or not, they're working together quite well, because the gap up towards Dennis Rust is slowly starting to come down as well. So whether they're meaning to do it or not, they are actually lapping quicker as a train of cars. Of course, it's Al Brown's job really to do all the heavy lifting. He's pushing through the air, making sure he punches a perfect Audi RS3 TCR hole in the air for his teammate. Carl Lukeman following on. John Brown, after a bit of a mistake in towards the final chicane, it's dropped him back to the tune of about 1 second now, so he's starting to lose out. You can see the SRL cars in front, the teammates battling like they're not. Al Brown just about holding on to 11th place. Carl Lukeman in the number 3 machine, trying to get 11th off Al. A 10th between the pair of them. Round the outside, you've got to be very, very brave to get it done there. Runs out of grip as soon as he goes onto the polished surface, or the unpolished surface, pardon me, and washes out wide. You can see flashing the lights, desperately trying to get in front of his teammate, putting him off, doing everything he can. All 3 cars jumping over the chicane. You can hear them bouncing off the rev limiter as the front of the car goes skyward. But for the moment, I was going to say slowly starting to calm down, but Carl Lukeman looking all the way around the outside once again. It looks like Al Brown knows exactly where to place his car, placing it on the apex, slowing it down where he can, just to take the momentum out of Al Brown, so he doesn't get given an opportunity. However, into the chicane, we've seen it work for Scott Tuffy, in towards the hairpin, pardon me. Carl Lukeman can't quite get the move done this time. All this battling, however, it slowed each other down. Carl Lukeman up into 11th, John Brown up into 12th as Al Brown runs wide. I don't know whether he just slightly outbraked himself, but there was no way he was going to get that slowed down. Aims for the apex, touches the grass, and in towards the gravel he goes, over the grass, rejoins the circuit, but 2 positions lower down than he was previously. Up towards the front once again, however, it's Dan Mould still leading with a half a second gap back to Scott Tuffy, and Andy Lovesey 6/10 back from Scott, and you can see that is Niels Manchanden diving into the pit lane at a rapid rate of knots. Scotty Angelo following suit. So we're seeing cars peel into the pit lane just as we tick over the halfway point now on lap 13. Niels Manchanden, the first of the drivers to really start to go against the grain, throws the car into the pit lane. And like I said, Scotty Angelo following along. Rob Sutherland also following the pair of them into the pit lane. What does Kalle Kavisto do in the number 37 machine? The Finnish driver, he continues into the pit lane as well. Dennis Rust leaving the hairpin, heading towards the pit lane. Let's keep an eye on him to see whether he dives into the pit lane. And this is the point where drivers have to decide, do they pit now or do they stretch the tank as long as possible? And of course they can have a slightly shorter pit stop, but it does mean that if everybody else who's pitted early, if they've got used to the car, if they have some good outlaps, they are under pressure from losing time. Dennis Rust stays out, Ashley Gaffale stays out, and Neil Stevenson driving towards final chicane, he stays out as well. Carl Lukeman still pulling away from the battle behind. You can see John Brown and Al Brown really going tooth and nail at this, and all 3 cars stay out. A little look up the inside there from Al Brown, nothing major though. However, John Brown does wash out towards the apex, takes a bit too much curb. Does that ruin his momentum as they head towards the start-finish line? It doesn't look like there's much of an overlap just as yet, and they do continue on as they were. Scott Tuffy, however, he is now on the inside looking to retake the lead, jumps in front of Dan Mould and takes the lead in towards the pit lane. Dan Mould follows him into the pit lane as well, so let's see what happened there. I want to have another quick look back. So Scott Tuffy entered the pit lane, and I can't quite go back far enough. Let's have a quick look, see how far back this is for Scott Tuffy. So he's alongside Dan Mould at this point, and he's racing him towards pit entry, jumps on the brakes as late as possible, almost goes a bit too far into pit entry, and then grabs the pit limiter there, and Dan Mould has got no choice but to... oh, he does jump back in front. Dan Mould does get back in front. I think Scott might have let him by there. Maybe felt it was slightly unfair to overtake him on the way into the pit lane. However, there is Scott riding the revs, trying to get going as quickly as possible. Dan Mould beats him out the pit lane. Scott Tuffy leaving in second. There is Andy Lovesey, having lost a little bit of time to the lead duo. So Andy has got all the work to do. Niels Manchanden, the first of the cars to pit, he is in 4th place. Ashley Gaffale following along in his Ignium Motorsport machine. Scotty Angelo has had an incident, so let's see what has happened to the Simtech driver. In towards the chicane, I think he was creeping over towards the privateer entry of John Brown. Let's have another look. He was coming over, and I think that was just unsighted from the pair of them. John Brown, he didn't really have anywhere to go. He was already at the white line, and Scotty Angelo, I think, was just expecting John Brown to be a little bit further back there. But he does continue on without too much of an issue. Just done a couple of corners on the car, but it doesn't look like that has affected the performance in any way, shape or form. Dan Mould still leading the way, half a second back is the number 21 machine of Scott Tuffy. So for the moment, the race is slowly starting to calm down. Strategy tends to do that during these races. It hots up towards the final couple of minutes, but while the drivers have now got a heavier car compared to a few laps ago, they've got to get used to the different driving aspects. Obviously, with it being on a heavier car, still on the original tyres, the car will get harder and harder to drive for the first couple of laps as it comes up to temperature once again. You don't spend that long in the pit lane stationary, however for that time obviously your tyres are cooling down as well, so It will be another little aspect that the drivers have to consider. And while we are just past the 20, or heading towards the 25-minute mark, we're going to do what we usually do around this point in the race. We're going to ride on board with one of these drivers just for a lap or two, just to see what they want to deal with. However, I don't want to look away from this battle just as yet. We'll give it until next time by, and if it looks like this battle is going to remain as is, we will jump on board with Scott Tuffy just so you can see how he's going about trying to get past Dan Mould. Dan with a fresh car, of course. You do get one fast repair, and Dan Mould making the most of that. He does have a brand new car there. You might hear me refer to fast repairs, and that is just something that iRacing do. It gives you an opportunity to get a factory fresh car. If you blow the engine up, if you lose all your wheels, if you have just a bit of a scuff, if you have a fast repair going into the pit lane, as soon as you stop, your car will be back to how it started the race. Every panel will be back straight, all your lights will be returned, all the wheels, any damage you've got on that car will be removed, and you will be given a fresh car. And Dan Mould, you can see both of his headlights now back attached, back working. And Scott Tuffy, I'm sure, is rather unimpressed with that, because he's slowly starting to lose a little bit of time up to the Ignium Motorsport lead car. And while this battle has opened up, we are going to jump on board with Scott Tuffy for a lap or two, so don't go away. We'll just see what it's like and see what the drivers are dealing with at this Zolder circuit. I think we are only going to get away with one lap here. Scott Tuffy really on the coattails of Dan Mould now. Thanks for pointing that out, Rob, in chat. I think it's because I'm so used to seeing Dan Mould in SRL colours, seeing him in Ignium Motorsport colours. It's quite the shock to the system. So I wasn't quite expecting it. However, another shock to Dan Mould is Scott Tuffy throwing it up the inside at turn 2, and he is now in the lead. So the number 21 machine up into the lead for the moment. However, Dan Mould is wise to turn 4. He knows that the move can't be done. He does look for the cutback, carries the superior momentum through the corner, pushes Scott on the exit in towards the chicane. Scott will have the inside for the first left-hander. Dan will have the inside for the first right-hander. However, it looks like Scott in the gold machine is a lot braver on the brakes in towards that section of the circuit. Possibly Dan Mould being slightly conservative with his car as it stands. Still got over 10 minutes of the race to go. So I think Dan Mould is aware of that, and he doesn't want to take any rash moves on Scott. He's willing to just sacrifice a couple of laps just to size up his opponent, decide where maybe he's slightly quicker, slightly more competitive, and then strike when he deems necessary. However, he can't wait around for too long, because there is Andy Lovesey in the SRL machine in the background bearing down on the pair of them if anything happens. I do want to bring up the two, well, what is 3 Ignium Motorsport cars behind, because here is Dan Mould, or Scott Tuffy and Dan Mould. Dan Mould for Ignium Motorsport a little further back. Actually, I don't want to look away from this battle just as yet. Scott Tuffy really has got the pressure piled on now. Dan following along, the number 80 machine looking this way and that. He will have the inside towards turn 1. There was a bit of traffic up the road, but it won't play a part in this battle just as yet. Scott carries the momentum in towards the entrance. Does that compromise his exit? He will just have the inside towards turn 2. Later on the brakes he goes. Dan Mould looks for the cutback, but I think he goes a little bit too wide. Gives him a bit too much room, and off into the gravel, off towards the Armco barrier he goes. That has dropped him down into 4th place, possibly 5th place if Ashley Gafale can get through turn 1. Not just as yet, but Dan Mould down into 4th place. That could have cost him a possible win. So let's have a look to see what happened to Dan. So you can see, I understand exactly what he's doing. Scott's gone to the inside, tries to run as wide as possible to see what he can do about getting the cutback. Just touches the grass, and as soon as you hit the grass in these things, it's a one-way train to go deeper into the grass and the gravel. Luckily, keeps it out the wall, but he is now 4 positions away from P1, which is not what he wanted. We'll go back live with him to see how he's getting on. He's got a really sizable gap up to his teammate Niels Manchanda now in 4th place. Now Dan Mould has done that, my previous point becomes even more valid. Niels Manchanda for Ignium Motorsport in 3rd, Dan Mould for Ignium Motorsport in 4th, Ashley Gafale for, you guessed it, Ignium Motorsport in 5th, and Rob Sutherland makes it 4 Ignium Motorsport cars separated between 3rd and 6th place. So they're really starting to dominate the field. Ignium, they're taking the domination title away from SRL, and I'm just wondering why Rob Sutherland is in. It almost looks like Garfield has crashed into a fiercely forward liveried car, because that pretty much looks like what has happened there. I'm wondering why he's not in an Ignium Motorsport machine. That could be a slight issue on my end. Maybe I've been driving with him online and not really realised, and he's picked up that livery instead of his Ignium Motorsport livery. I'm not 100% sure. But Ashley Gafale, while we're looking through Ignium Motorsport cars, last time out he scored P3, so he was evidently quick at Laguna Seca, got the podium, also got the fastest lap as well, which will have gained him an extra 2 points. So really starting to haul in the points is Ashley Gafale. And he's doing it at all the right points. This is round 9, round 10 in 2 weeks' time on the 22nd at Nürburgring. So the season finale. While the championship has been settled at the very top, we've still got battles up and down the order. And for the moment, somebody who will be very happy with where he's placed is Scott Tuffy. 4 tenths ahead of Andy Lovesey, so he might have got the lead, but he's not going to get away with it easily. About 8 minutes of the race remaining on lap 19. As it stands, Andy Lovesey hot on the heels of the number 21 machine. So the man from Essex has got all the work to do to try and keep Andy Lovesey back. I think Andy Lovesey is a local lad to me. I think he's up towards Louth, so really not far away. And he's really starting to put the pressure on. Scott Tuffy now looks this way and that, looks towards the right, looks towards the left. He will have the inside if there's an overlap there in towards the chicane, and there definitely is an overlap. He's properly alongside later on the brakes in towards the final chicane. Andy Lovesey does get the position made, so the number 1 machine back up to the front. Scott Tuffy, after all that defending, is now under pressure from Niels Manchanda. So Scott Tuffy is only going backwards by the looks of it, unless he can remain in that draft range and put the pressure back on Andy Lovesey, because we know while you are up at the front, you're punching the hole in the air, so you've got to put more power down to try and break that hole. And if everybody else behind is just underneath your rear wing pushing you around, they will get a slight benefit from the draft. And of course, if you are the chase car, you haven't got as much pressure on. All you've got to do is follow the car in front. The car at the front, Andy Lovesey, he will be constantly keeping one eye on the road in front, one eye on his rear view mirror. He will know that Scott is a very formidable driver. You will always see him battling away. And he tends to be at the top end of the order, and he's definitely proving me right this evening. They're in 2nd place, trying to take the lead back off Andy Lovesey. He's having a little look in towards every couple of corners. Nothing really come of that just as yet. Niels Manchanda part of this battle now. So Andy Lovesey and Scott Tuffy have traded one Ignium car for another. The 104 of Niels Manchanda is there in 3rd place at the moment. Dan Mould 3.3 seconds back. Scott Tuffy has a little look to the outside, got very close to the grass there. So did Niels Manchanda, and every one of those drivers you can see using all the track available to them. Dan Mould in the bottom of the shot there, leaving the hairpin. Now only 3 seconds adrift of the lead trio. So he's really on a charge back up towards The lead car's on the grass. He goes jumping over the chicane. It's all gone wrong for Dan. One mistake has led to another. Let's have another quick look back. I was looking over at the timing screen and I heard a car go off. I looked up and there you go. Dan Mould just on the grass, on the brakes, over-rotates the car on the way in, goes rattling over the gravel. Commentator's curse for you. Just as I say, he's working his way up through the order, or working his way back up to the front of the order. He has dropped himself back 4.6 seconds from Niels Manchanden now. So the Ignium Motorsport driver, obviously fresh in that car after leaving SRL for the first 8 rounds, jumped in that car, definitely knows what he's doing behind the wheel, but tonight the race really hasn't just come to him. 5 minutes of the race remaining, and for me, I don't think, unless something major happens up at the front, he's going to be in with a shout of the podium. One of the first times all season Dan Mould will miss out on a podium, sadly, but nevertheless, in 4th place for the moment. That's still a great haul of points. In the background, Ashley Gafael on his way, pretty much in no man's land. He's got 11 seconds up to his teammate of Dan Mould and 15 seconds back to his teammate of Rob Sutherland, so he's got plenty of room. I think I heard a car almost sideways in the background. Heard some tyre squeal 100%. There is Neil Stevenson in 7th. Kalle Kavisto is changes for the lead. Scott Tuffy and Andy Lovesey have come together. I saw them swapping on the timing tower. And look who's come out on top there. Niels Manchanden up into 2nd place. I didn't think there was going to be that much of a battle. 1 minute I look up and there's a fair few tenths between them. Next time I look up, they're making contact and crashing door to door into each other, trading that little bit of pain. In the background, Scott Tuffy trying to get back up into 2nd place. Round the outside, or round the inside of Niels Manchanden. It goes to the outside. And Scott Tuffy back up into 2nd place, but he is now 1 second adrift of Andy Lovesey, so just in the draft assistance range, but nothing major. So for the moment, everything has swung the way of Andy Lovesey all of a sudden. And the pendulum is away from Scott Tuffy. He now has Niels Manchanden following along in his rearview mirror, so he will have the burden of a car chasing. Let's have a look back to see what happened there. So Scott Tuffy, we know he's very, very competent on the brakes in towards the hairpin. He jumps over to the right-hand side of the road, hard on the brakes. You can see him trying to pitch the car in towards the hairpin. If he turned in that little bit later, he might have even got the lead. But it just shows a slight mistake like that cost you a couple of positions. Almost threw him off the 2nd step of the podium. He's just about managed to grasp that back. Now 1.1 seconds up to Andy Lovesey, so Scott Tuffy is losing time with Niels Manchanden behind, and of course if these two are battling away, it does mean Dan Mould back in on the mix. 3 tenths back there is Niels Manchanden. What has happened to Scott Tuffy? He is very, very slow out the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. 6 tenths back now is Dan Mould, so it's all going wrong for Scott Tuffy. He's gone from the lead into 2nd, losing out now into 3rd, and almost 4th place is bearing down on him because Dan Mould, very, very quick driver. He'll be driving very aggressively now, angry at himself for making a couple of mistakes. And Scott Tuffy, he's just had one mistake, has led to another, much like Dan's race. We'll have a look back just to see what happened there to Scott Tuffy. I'm not 100% sure why he was going so slowly. Possibly helped off the road a little bit by Niels Manchanden. While they're going through the chicane, you can see Dan Mould really, really close to the number 21 machine now. Keep an eye on which way the Ignium Motorsport car will go. Jumps over to the right-hand side, does Dan Mould. Now heading towards turn 1. We've seen the outside work before for Scott Tuffy. Now Dan Mould is trying to give him a lesson on that, and it's almost a carbon copy of a few laps before. Dan Mould up into 3rd place, up onto the podium places, and Scott Tuffy now down in 4th place. So it does mean that is more valuable points for Scott Tuffy, disappearing up the road now. So the number 21 machine from 1st to 4th in the space of about 3 laps. Let's see what happened here between Niels Manchanden and Scott Tuffy. Scott Tuffy in towards the chicane. Does he get help? No. Just looks like Dan Mould goes very slowly through. Maybe some sort of external error there for Scott Tuffy. In towards the chicane. Hard on the brakes it goes. It's almost like the brakes just stick on. Presses the brakes so much that the rears lock up. Not 100% sure what happened there. It almost looked like he was letting Niels Manchanden by. I didn't see any reason for him to do so. Possibly there was a bit of contact a few laps ago that he's just letting him back through. Great sportsmanship from Scott Tuffy if so. But it does now mean that he's down in 4th place. Dan Mould back up into the podium positions in 3rd. 1 second adrift of his teammate Niels Manchanden, and then 1.6 seconds up the road. Andy Lovesey, everyone. He's done a great job throughout the race. He hasn't let anything get under his skin, just driven his own race. If he was in 1st one lap and then in 3rd the next, he really wouldn't mind. Carries on. And as he comes out of the final corner for what I believe will be the penultimate time, charging towards the line with only 45 seconds of the race to go, heading on to lap 24 of the race now. This will be the final lap of the race. So Andy Lovesey in the lead, Niels Manchanden there in second, Dan Mould up into third, and Scott Tuffy there in fourth. So the lead 4 cars all still very close together. So don't rule out any position changes just as yet. I think Dan Mould pushing the limits a little bit through turn 1. He's dropped him back towards Scott Tuffy, 9 tenths between the pair of them. However, look how close the Ignium Motorsport cars are now. 3 tenths back from Niels Manchanden is Dan Mould. So everybody really getting close together. All this battling does mean that Andy Lovesey is disappearing into the distance even further. We tick past the 40-minute mark in the race now, so this is 100% going to be the final lap of the race. Niels Manchanden, the tail end of the car, throws itself over the curb, finally touches terra firma again and gets back going again. Through the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, it sounds like Dan Mould did something of the like as well, following his teammate. Now, as we go in towards Sector 3, what's going to happen here? Dan Mould runs very wide on the Brexit of the corner. And now in towards the hairpin. It looks like Niels Manchanden is just about staying in front for the moment. However, Dan Mould, it is his teammate, and we know what he's like racing teammates. The Sunday Drivers' Cup race-long battle with his teammate Andy Lovesey at the time. Very late on the brakes, up the inside goes Dan Mould, almost contact between the pair of them. Niels Manchanden gets stuck on Dan Mould. Scott Tuffy trying to come through and reclaim that podium place. Scott Tuffy isn't now in front of Dan Mould, so on the final corner of the final lap of the race, Scott Tuffy gets P3, gets onto the podium places. We knew the teammates were going to fight, maybe not that hard. Niels Manchanden, Dan Mould, come together, and it does mean that a podium position has been taken away from Dan Mould. However, your overall race winner, everybody, Andy Lovesey, great drive from himself. He was always in the top 3, I think, even after a couple of position changes between himself, Dan Mould and Scott Tuffy, but he eventually comes out victor, gets to the front and stays there. Niels Manchanden in second, Scott Tuffy stealing third on the run to the line. Great stuff from Scott, even after a couple of mistakes. He does get the podium that he sorely deserves. Dan Mould finishes in fourth, Ashley Gaffale in fifth, Rob Sutherland in sixth, which rounds out an amazing night for the Ignium Motorsport team. Neil Stevenson in seventh, Kalle Kavisto, one of the SRL cars, the number 37 machine with the blue flashes, finishes in 8th. Scotty Angelo 9th, Dennis Rust in 10th, and we'll give you a slightly deeper look in towards the results. However, I say Dennis Rust finishes in 10th. You can see he's trying to get to the line. He's got his foot flat to the floor. The car has got fuel surge all the way to the line. Who's that on the way? That's Carl Lukeman. He does get to the line now to finish 10th. Just Carl Lukeman was well aware of what was happening there. Just missed out on a top 10 finish. He crosses the line to finish 11th. Pete Bryan, you can see in the bottom of your shot, across the line to finish 12th. Great stuff. That race was really, really interesting to watch. And I think we will have a fair few interviews to get through. We do have the results available for you, so let's have a quick look over at them. Andy Lovesey, everybody, takes the win here at Zolder, round 9. He is on the top step of the podium, 2.5 seconds clear of Niels Manchanden for Ignium Motorsport. Scott Tuffy has had a penalty. Scott Tuffy has had a post-race penalty, I'm assuming for incident points. So Niels Manchanden finishes in second for Ignium Motorsport, followed by his teammate. Dan Mould does get on the podium. The number 80 machine joins his teammate on the podium to round out your top 3. Ashley Gaffale, after a great race at Laguna Seca, follows up with a great race here at Zolder to finish in 4th place, and to round out a great night for Ignium Motorsport, Rob Sutherland rounds out the top 5. Scott Tuffy, wow, amazing night from himself, great battling. I think just generally throughout the race, for the entertainment value, and I'm sure the driving value for Scott, that penalty must have been very much worth it. Just about manages to fend off Neil Stevenson, 1 second in front. He does manage to secure 6th place. Neil Stevenson there in 7th. Kalle Kavisto in 8th. Scotty Angelo in 9th. Dennis Rust rounds out your top 10. 11th was Carl Lukeman. 12th was Pete Bryan, 13th Jason Guerrara, 14th was Matt Tempest, Al Brown finishes in 15th, John Brown in 16th, Derek Crowther in 17th. I think he retired after that lap 1 incident, along with Scott Malcolm, and I think we've only got a couple more drivers left. Yeah, we do. Bram Class retiring after lap 1, and I don't think Anthony Gaskin made it to the grid. But that was one hell of a race. Qualifying was closer than we've ever seen it up at the front, and the race was one of the closest we've seen all season. Great stuff from everyone involved. We do have the podium available to us, so we're going to bring into the commentary box Dan Mould. You managed to secure a podium after a slight coming together with your teammate. It turns out Scott Tuffy had that penalty, and there you go, onto the podium.
Oh, I'm still sweating. Yeah, superb. I just sent it at the end down the side of Neil's. Just thought, stop it, let's go for it. But what a battle that was in the last few laps. Saw them three battling, just thought, you know, I've got a good chance to get back into them here. And then I had a bit of an off, put me back about a second, and then I caught him again. But gutted for Scott. He got the maximum points in the last lap, so he had the drive-through, cost him the position. Yeah, great race. Wasn't going to qualify, and then I saw the lap times in practice. Like, oh, I better put a time down here because I'm going to miss out on a good battle if I don't. So yeah, it was really good. Enjoyed it.
It was a great battle to watch, I've got to say. And going into the pit lane, I think it was, I'm not sure whether it was you or your teammate at the time, Scott Tuffy sent it on one of the Ignium Motorsport cars. And of course, strategy played a part here with having to go into the pit lane to take fuel. Was that something that was playing in the back of your mind? Because we had Niels Manchanden pit very early, you and the rest of the top 3 pit very late. Was that something that you were just sort of already planning for, or was it just play it by ear, see how long you can go, dive into the pit lane as late as possible, and then just run it to the end?
We was all in chat together, me, Scott, Andy, Neil. I don't think Niels was in there, and Andy was going to pit early. I just thought, I'll just pit in now. There was no strategy. It was just a case of pit in. But to be fair, Jack, I just wanted to keep it as close as we could. I wanted to continue the battling after the pit, so I wasn't really fussed about winning or losing. I just wanted a good battle tonight, and that's what I got. So yeah, it was brilliant. I'm absolutely sweating, and that's what I do it for. You know, it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
It was great to watch. I know, as per usual, about the halfway point in the race, we just like to ride on board with the car. Tonight it was Scott as he was chasing you down, and I thought, oh great, I've got a lap, I can catch my breath, because I had very little time to do so beforehand, and we got about a lap in before you were back battling once again, so I had to put down my cup of coffee and get straight back to it. But that was a great battle, and obviously you've changed teams as well. We've mentioned that a couple of times tonight. You've gone from SRL to Ignium Motorsport. Any reasoning behind that, or is it just you feel like your time at SRL has come to an end? Maybe you feel better fit at Ignium Motorsport, or is it just one of them things?
Basically, I'll put it out there now. SRL is we're a bunch of lads who've known each other for years. We're mates. It's a gathering. It's a group where we just get on and chit chat, and we all do our own thing. And the officials, Ignium, are more of a team-based group.
Yeah.
Where they are, you know, they're doing a lot more league races. They've got a structured endurance system, and that's something that I wanted to get involved in. I haven't really got time no more to be the admin of a group and put things forward. I've got a new sim room on the making that I'm trying to do myself, a normal family life, etc., etc. So Paul's taking Ignium to the next level. I asked if I could join, and you know the open, you know, welcome me with open arms, and it's as much as I love the guys from SRL, and I'll never lose touch with them. Ignium has excelled my experience in iRacing now, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more with them, and that's all it is. I'll never lose touch with the SRL boys, never. But like I say, the team ethos at Ignium and the structured team and what they've got going is just something that I'm after, and that's the only reason.
100%, 100% get that. And I know you asked me before the stream to do you a favour and obviously just mention a couple of bits that you sent me. And I was hoping we'd get you in for an interview. And instead of me stealing your thunder, I thought maybe that'd sound better coming from you. So feel free to mention a few words. If you've got any final thank yous and anything like that, feel free to slot them in now.
So yeah, so basically I asked you to mention that I won't be running the SRL League next season. I had plans to do one, and then plans changed. I joined Ignium. So I'm handing it over to Al Brown. He's got plans to do a more sprint kind of league. I believe maybe a too short a race with a reverse grid. You know, we're talking about it. So yeah, everyone who's involved, I'm hoping it will continue next season. I will be involved. I'll be racing if I can. Yeah, and I want to just thank everybody who's helped me to run this. Ben Hicks, he couldn't make tonight, but Ben Hicks has done a lot of the background for me. He's done the league tables, updates, the social media side. So yeah, big thanks to him, and a big thank you for everybody who turned up. And I think I've said this before, made the league something that I never thought it would be. I just thought it would be a mess about on a Friday night with the lads, and it took a step up. As I said before, getting you involved is taking to that next level, and it's just been absolutely amazing to be a part of. And like I say, I'm looking forward to next season. I think it'll be a better format. So yeah, thanks again. Thanks to everybody.
Great stuff. It's great to hear, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you in season 2. Once again, well done tonight for sneaking your way onto the podium. And my God, you definitely gave us a show to look at. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Nürburgring.
Thank you, Jack. Good night, mate.
That was Dan Mould there, P3 finisher in the end. Great stuff from himself, and obviously very kind words. And I almost thought he was going to tear up there. It shows how much this entire community means to him. So it's great to see that he's still continuing on, albeit in a slightly more backseat position. He is still there or thereabouts with SRL, making sure he doesn't lose touch. As he mentioned, we're going to bring in the eventual second place finisher, Niels Manchanden. Welcome to the commentary box. You and Ignium tonight, you've had an absolutely amazing night. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, sir. A bit of luck in the first lap. Everybody crashed, and I fitted right through. And from there on, I just followed the fight for the lead. And they seemed to have some troubles, and I could pass them without any troubles. And yeah, nice drive.
It was great to watch, and we always saw you in the background when it was Andrew Lovesey, Scott Tuffy, and Dan Mould. We saw the trio battling at the front, and I said, "Keep an eye on you. You're on your way. You're there or thereabouts. Any mistake, and you're going to be there." And lo and behold, the mistakes came, and on your bike, you came straight in, picking up the pieces. And then the final lap, the final corner. Dan Mould, supposed to be your teammate, he throws it up the inside, gives you a bit of a nudge. You managed to keep you cool and finish P2. It's been a pretty good night for you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, he's my new teammate, yes, and I didn't want to give up second place because I've been fourth about 5 times, I think, and never on the podium. And I watched the replay. He hit the inside curbs and he bounced a bit, and then he ran me out of the room. So, yeah, well, it turned out good for me.
It definitely turned out good for you. It turned out pretty good for Dan as well, because it's such a shame that Scott Tuffy had that penalty. He was going to finish P3, going to finish with you on the podium, but I think on the final lap, whether it was an off-track or a loss of control or a bit of contact with another car, it dropped him back down into what I think was 7th place, which is such a shame. But like you say, you'd finished 4th so many times. How good is it? I'm sure you must feel ecstatic, but 2nd place after a battle, watching the battles in front, it must have been great to watch. And then you thought, you know what, I'll get involved, and you did. It must feel worth it now. All that effort, all of that persistence throughout the season to finally be rewarded with a good podium, it must really make up for it.
Yeah, well, I'm not the fastest in here, but I seem to be consistent, and I was perfectly fine driving in 4th or 5th, watching everybody battle it out and hoping for some problems, and in the end they came.
It was great to watch, and we always had an eye on you, and you definitely worked your way up. And there you go, P2. Great reward for you this evening. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while you're live in the commentary box?
As always, you, of course, for the commentary. I have to look it, but I'm sure it will be great. And Dan for organizing it, and Paul King and his team of Ignia Motorsport for having me there.
Great stuff, and thank you very much for the kind words. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Nürburgring, and once again, another well done for tonight.
Thank you, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Niels Manchanden there, second place finisher for Ignia Motorsport, joined by his teammate on the podium, Dan Mould, who we spoke to a few moments ago. We've got to bring him in, the eventual race winner. I'm hoping we'll get Scott Tuffy in after this. I'm hoping he doesn't lead. But Andy Lovesey, welcome to the commentary box. That was a hard fought race for you. We saw you battling.
long time no speak, mate.
Yeah, definitely, very long time, too long. But that was a very hard fought race from you. I'd take my hat off to you. You, at all points, I was saying, keep an eye on Andy Lovesey, keep an eye on everybody really, but after everything that was thrown at you, you had Dan Mould and Scott Tuffy chasing you down, almost pushing you around the circuit at some points. You went from P1 to P3 in the space of a lap, and then the other way around the next lap, but none of that got under your skin. You just kept on turning laps, making sure you stayed on it, and look how you prospered, P1.
Yeah, I made a couple of mistakes at the while they were behind me. I said to Stuffy and Dan, I was really struggling in the second chicane. I was losing half a second a lap in quali. In the race, I'd pull out like 1 second, then it dropped to half a second in second chicane. But it's quite a difficult track to pass on. So we sort of sat out in front, and then obviously I made the mistake. Then two got past. Came in the pits, forgot it was a quick pit reset. Took three additional seconds, so I had to catch the boys up. But luckily they were having a little tussle, and I managed to sort of get behind them in the end. But yeah, you could. It's the first, obviously, I'm used to doing all right in the Sunday drivers, but not really in these TCRs. I enjoy them. They're great to drive, but I've never really had great pace in them.
Well, tonight definitely works for you at Zolder. Do you think that's anything to do with the circuit, or is it just one of those nights? I personally find Zolder quite a tricky track to get a really good rhythm on, because as much of it flows as you like, really. You can choose how well you drive it, because there's big sausage curbs. You weave it in between them, you've then got grass and then barrier. There's not really that much room to manoeuvre. Was it the track that played a part, the car that played a part, or just everything came to you tonight and there you go? Top step of the podium.
I'll be honest, mate, I hate this track. I did a few laps of practice before tonight, and Dan gave me some pointers on where I needed to be with times, and I thought I was a second or so off the pace, but when we got into practice, I was there or thereabouts, which was quite surprising. I think my biggest issue in these TCRs has been where I've qualified. I think I've really struggled in quali and found myself mid-pack, sort of 10th, 11th, 12th, and having to fight through. And by the time I've got anywhere near the front, the top 3 or 4 are miles down the road. So I think it obviously makes a difference to get qualified in the top 3 or 4 places and get a bit of a clean break out the front. So, yeah, I think that was what made the difference tonight, mate, if I'm honest.
Well, it definitely showed. And like I said, it was a dominating drive from yourself. 2 weeks' time, we go to Nürburgring for the season finale, the final round of the season. Another circuit that you hate, or a circuit that you love? Any sort of insight on the way in?
I'm going to set myself up for this one. I love that track. So if I do awful there, I'm going to look like an idiot now. No, listen, all the boys in this race have got some great pace. It shows in all the quali times. There's hardly anything in the top sort of 10, 11, 12 places. It's just if you can manage to string it together for the entire race. Like I said, tonight I had a bit of luck with Dan and Stuffy having a little bit of a tussle, but I had the pace to manage to get this by Stuffy in the end. So you need a little bit of luck to win these races. But hopefully I'll get the same luck in Nürburgring, and combined with the fact that I actually like that track, and hopefully I can get another good result.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you out there, and yeah, let's hope that you can follow up this week's performance with another good one in a couple of weeks' time. And like you say, qualifying is where it's at, because it's just that close. Before we let you go, and while you're still live in the commentary box, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Just want to shout out to Dan for obviously organising the league, the SRL boys, everyone who turns up, makes the league what it is, and thanks to my missus who I think's watching now, but she's not been very well, bless her. So I managed to sneak on tonight. But yeah, and thanks obviously to you for the commentary, and I look forward to watching it back on the stream.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much. Get well soon, Mrs. Lovesey. Please do pass my good wishes on, and yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Nürburgring.
Cheers, Jack. Take care, buddy.
That was Andy Lovesley there, jumping onto the top step of the podium. And we've got to bring him in, surely. We only do 2 or 3 interviews, but after tonight, surely we've got to do 4. Scott Tuffy, welcome to the commentary box. Oh,
Hello, mate.
It must just be crushing. It's looking so good for a podium, possibly a win at most points of the race. And then the final lap, you were thinking, right, I'm having this, I'm going for this, I'm getting this podium. And what happened? Just incident points stacked up, got the penalty and dropped you back?
Yeah, I just gathered too much. I didn't have really any contact all race. Had nearly a coming together with Andy, but it was just that a second chicane. I just got too many. I think I got 15 incident points on that chicane alone, and I had 1 left on the last lap. You may have seen me stop kind of on the chicane a couple of laps from the end, and that was because I basically shat myself. I didn't want to go. I completely outbroke myself. My tyres were dropping off, and I didn't want to go into Nils and get a penalty and end his race, and also get the off track. I pretty much came to a standstill there. But it was great fun. I mean, I'm gutted. I wasn't able to get the win when I did get out in front. My tyres dropped off and made a couple of mistakes, and Andy, rightly so, got past me. He had a great race today, and then and obviously great fighting out front with Dan as well. I mean, I had a terrible start, completely bogged down, but it was I really enjoyed that. It was thrilling from start to end. So yeah, bit eventful, but that's I don't have uneventful races, it seems.
We did mention that on the stream. We're saying sometimes you have an amazing qualifying like you did today, and you think, oh great, he's going to be on the front row, he's going to storm away with it. Slight mistake at the start. It almost looked like you changed into 4th, and maybe almost on purpose to let everybody go, and you're like, right, okay, I can just follow him through. But like you say, yeah, you just bogged down, and then sometimes qualifying maybe doesn't go your way, or you just decide maybe not to qualify, and then you're from the back to the front. And today it was just it was all looking so good, and annoyingly it went wrong, but it shows you've got the pace to be right up there, to be winning races, and you were setting purple lap after purple lap after purple lap, and then if somebody else stole it off you, and I'm not having that, I'm going to get it back. Yeah, you were really lapping quickly. Some of the times you set during the race would have been incredibly competitive in qualifying, so you've definitely got it going for you. And is that something to do with the circuit, something to do with the car? Obviously you've had lots of time in the car now, so with only 1 round left, surely it's gonna all come to you.
I hope so. It's just the car itself. No, I mean I jumped in. I hadn't raced this car since the last race actually. As people mostly know, I race F3 the majority of times. But it's I mean I do like Zolder. It's everyone was complaining about that first chicane during practice. Everyone was like, how are you going through there? Because it was just so difficult. But I didn't even realise I was sitting fastest laps. I mean, I was fastest in practice and fastest in qualifying. It was just a shame I couldn't put it together in the race. It's kind of something that I need to improve on. It's just when it comes to the race, I love racing, but I need to get a little bit better with my when I do put it on pole or get in a position like that. I'll take it to the end. But yeah, it was still good fun. There's one more race left. I really want to get a win. It'd be nice. So I may put in a bit of extra practice because it'd be nice to finish the year with and the season with a win. So it's been a great season. So big shout out to Dan. I think everyone, even after Christmas, I mean, at one point I think we had a height of over 35 on the grids. Even after the Christmas break, a long break as well, we still got we got 20 on the grid. So I just want to say a big thanks to Dan and everyone involved, Ben and Andy and Al, and obviously whatever happens moving forward, just it's been good fun.
It's been great to watch. And while we're on the topic of next round, of course, wanting to go out with a win, Nürburgring. We spoke to Andy Lovesley, and he says he loves the circuit, so he's bigged himself up for it. Are you going to do something of the same? Circuit you like, circuit you hate? Tell us about it.
A bit of love-hate relationship. I mean, it's great to drive in the nimble cars like the F3, but I'm not sure how it's going to be in this car. I mean, it's sometimes, as we all know, it's can feel quite slow. This car, that first sector is going to feel like an absolute age getting around that twisty bit. But I generally quite like the track. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, there's no first corner pile up, which always seems to happen at that track. So hopefully, I'm hoping I'll put in a better practice, a bit more than what I did tonight. and hopefully, yeah, end the season on a high.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time there, as per the usual. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while you're on the stream?
Yeah, as I already said, Dan for setting up the league, and everyone else who's been involved in making it what it is. Everyone who's participated, even if they only raced in one race. It's been great. It's been real good fun, especially with the boys in the Discord. And yeah, definitely. I know if Dan has said he might not be able to have the time to do a second season running on his own, but I hope someone picks it up, because I'd definitely be up for racing with them all again.
Great stuff.
And one last thing, thanks to yourself as too, Jack. Great commentary as always.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and yeah, and just to echo that, yeah, from what I've heard from Dan, he is stepping away from it, but by the looks of it, he's got the entire SRL community stepping in, and hopefully season 2 is going to be bigger and better. So we hope to see you out in season 2. But before that, we've got to set our minds to 2 weeks from now for Nürburgring, and we'll see you there. Once again, well done tonight. I think you deserved a little bit more than that, but make amends for it in 2 weeks' time for me, yeah?
Thanks, Jack. Cheers, mate. Have a good night.
Great stuff, you too. That's Scott Tuffy there, and what a rotten night for himself. However, he's still in high spirits, and he's still looking forward to the season finale in 2 weeks' time. And annoyingly, it's that time of the night already. We've got to say goodbye. It's already gone through the 40-minute race, the 10-minute qualifying, and all the interviews. It goes so quickly. 1 hour and 20 minutes of broadcasting just gone. So thank you to everybody that's watched along. I think we reached a height of about 11, 12 viewers. So thank you for everybody that's been in chat, said hello, anything like that, all the competitors as well. Massive well done to everyone involved. And of course, SM Computer Solutions and DataShred for being the sponsors of Simulation Racing Leagues. 2 weeks' time, mark it in your calendars. On the 22nd of January, we go to the Nürburgring GP circuit for round 10, where, of course, like we've mentioned tonight, the championship has already been settled. However, we do still have points up for grabs. And if you can get more points tonight and in 2 weeks' time, the drop rounds should hopefully thrust you up through the order. Scott Tuffy, keep an eye on him. He's gained that position past Callum Reid-Garton, and how far can he go? We also need to keep an eye on a little further down the order as well, because we've still got Kalle Kavisto battling with his teammate Carl Lukeman and Al Brown. So lots of points up for grabs in 2 weeks' time. Make sure you're here for the season finale. And like I said, thank you to everybody that joined tonight, everybody that said hello, everybody that took part, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Nürburgring. Bye-bye.